Can we knit using a spool of sewing machine thread? You will see that if you get to the end of this video. It has been exactly 1 year since my friend Mike helped me to get the Picto device, and today I will unbox it and show you how to use it. Let's start by looking at what there is inside of the box. On top I found the instructions. This small booklet contains the instructions translated into several languages. The next thing inside the box are the covers for the front bed. They are numbered so you can position them easily on the front bed. The next thing inside the box is the trip cam for the row counter. It's different than the one you have already installed on your machine, and this one will work only for the Picto carriage. And the last thing inside the box is the Picto carriage itself. On the back side you can see the stitch size dial and a button that will return all needles back to working position, and on the front side you can see the row counter. To begin using the Picto carriage, first you have to make a cast on, then transfer all stitches to the back bed, or just make a single bed cast on the back bed and knit several rows. You may start by knitting a picot wedge or some rows of ribbing, but before you begin knitting Intarsia you have to transfer all stitches to the back bed so the wrong side of the work will be facing you. I knitted 30 rows of brown yarn using several needles on the back bed only. First you have to slide the lock to the right and move the edge springs and the trip cam for the row counter from the front bed to the sides. Drop the front bed. All stitches must be on the needles of the back bed. Now we need to place the plastic covers on the front bed. You have to start by placing the numbered 1 cover at the left on the front bed, but since I'm not using all needles to knit, I will put covers only in front of the working needles. The cover number 3 should be placed in the middle of the front bed. Make sure the markings below the needles correspond exactly with the ones on the covers. Attach the covers as shown in the video. First hook the bottom part to the rail and then press the top part towards the bed. If the cover is not in the right position, you can slide it to either side. 2 covers are enough for the knitting that they have on the back bed. After attaching the covers, double check to see if the markings on them correspond with the needles. I knitted the first few rows with a stitch size set to 5.5, so I will continue using this stitch size now. To do so, I will set the stitch size on the Picto to 5.5 by rotating the stitch size dial. Turn the carriage so it is facing you and reset the row counter. The Picto can be only attached and used on the back bed of the machine. To attach it you have to pull the back levers on the sides. When you pull the black levers, put the Picto on the back bed at the left side of the knitting. You may need to wiggle it a bit until it gets to the right position. Then release the black levers and the carriage will be attached to the rail. Now you have to slide the Picto to the right side of the knitting. It will raise the needles to their upper working position. Now take the trip cam for the row counter, hold it as shown in the video and insert it on top of the rail on the back bed. It won't get any further because of the toothed rail, so you have to slightly pull it towards you, then slide it so it is touching the left edge spring. Use a bank card cut at an angle to make sure all latches are open. Now put the yarn cakes which you are going to use in front of the machine. I will start to lay the yarn into the hooks from left to right. I want the yarn change to be on the 10th needle on the left. The yarn coming from the cake must be towards the left and the shorter end should be on the right. I will lay the second yarn strand the same way, starting from the 10th needle. Now take the short ends and put them between the beds of the machine. I will use a clip to tension them, but make sure you are holding the other ends of the yarn before dropping the clip. Hold the yarn strands close to the bed of the machine and slide the Picto to knit the first row. Don't hold the yarn strands too tight. As you are sliding the carriage, more yarn will be pulled to knit the stitches. Now let's knit the second row. Take the leftmost yarn strand and lay it over the needles as shown in the video. I want the color change to be at the 10th needle again. Hold this strand to the right so it is over the second colored strand. Now take the second colored strand, bring it up and lay it over the rest of the stitches. You should be able to see how both tails are crossed. Now you can knit the second row. Each time you have to start laying the yarn strands from the side of the carriage. Once again I will cross the yarns on the 10th needle. Hold the yarn tails in your hand and knit one row. Now you can see the process from a different angle. In this video I'm using two strands and I'm crossing the yarn at exactly the same spot every time so you can easily see and learn how the process works. The Intarsia can be used to create different multicolor images on knitted fabric so you are not limited to how many strands you can use to knit with. If you have an Intarsia break, it will be easier for you to navigate the yarn strands. I currently don't have one, but there is one available on Thingiverse that I may try and show you in a further video. However, if you're using many different strands, you can buy some small silicone yarn holders and use them when knitting Intarsia. They will be very handy and speed up the process. When you knit the first row, it may seem that the yarn strands are tangling from the crossing, but when you knit the next one, they will get untangled because you are crossing the yarn in the opposite direction. I have knitted 49 rows and the picto is on the left side of the knitting. Lay the yarn strands over the needles the same way for the last time. Now we will use the button that is next to the stitch size dial. Push it a bit to the right and towards you and keep it there while you are knitting the last row. This way you will knit the last row and the needles will be back to their working position. You can see them up close. Now I will cut the yarn tails and put them between the beds of the machine. I will reset the row counter on the picto by rotating the knobs on top, then I will remove it from the back bed. Pull the trip cam for the row counter slightly and slide it off the rail. Remove the plastic covers from the front bed as shown in the video, then return the edge springs and the trip cam for the row counter back into the center of the bed. Raise the front bed and retread the machine if you have forgotten to retread it earlier. I haven't changed any of the lock settings so I can continue knitting on the back bed. So this is what the test swatch looks like. We have a flat and seamless color change. Now let's check what the other side looks like. The only thing that's visible is the crossing of the strands. There are no bumps or floats, just a perfectly knitted piece. Now I will make something different. I will use two strands of yarn and I will lay them the same way as before. The only difference now is that I won't cross the strands in the middle. By doing this, you may make a vertical slit in the fabric that can be used as a buttonhole or just to split the fabric in half. Another thing you can do is to knit two different things at the same time. For example, you can use the picto to knit both shoulders at the same time, or why not two sleeves or even two socks that have to be sewn later. Now let's see if the sewing thread will work. I have tried to thread the machine with it, but I couldn't make it knit. Tell me in the comments, do you think this is going to work? It is very easy to push the lock and it will make a very interesting fabric. I tried to use different stitch size settings and I liked what all variations looked like. Please don't forget to support me by liking the video and leaving me a comment below. The last thing is that I found that the Picto carriage works with slightly thicker yarn than the one I can use with the lock. I have tried to use this yarn to knit and I have dropped and unknitted stitches, but when I'm knitting with the Picto the results are perfect. Some novelty yarns can also be knitted with the Picto carriage, but you have to make a test to check if a specific yarn will work. This is the second test piece. You can see the slit that I made. On the wrong side of the piece there are 2 strands that I have to weave in. Now you can see the part that is knitted with the sewing thread. The tightest stitch size I used was 3 and the top part is knitted with a stitch size of 8. The bottom part is knitted with a stitch size of 6.5. That was everything I had for today. If you know more interesting things that can be done with this carriage, please share them in the comments below. Now have a nice day and see you next time.